Evelyn to Philip, April 17th, 1945. My sweet, last night was terrific. This time Adele couldn't hold it until I got her into the bathroom, and she had much more to throw up. Well, don't ask. After I got her all cleaned up and the bed all changed, she did a repeat performance, so I had to start cleaning up all over again. This time I put a small blanket at the top of the bed. Sure enough, she started up again, but the last few times I got her into the bathroom. The whole ordeal made me very sick in my stomach, and I have very little taste for anything today. There was no mail from you, and I can't help wondering at the cause of the delay. I know you wrote on the 4th and realized that you must have skipped writing when you visited Meadowcroft, but for the most part the mail has again slowed up. And then again, perhaps VE Day has a lot to do with it. Nevertheless, I shall be most grateful when the mail comes through more regularly. I find that I'm in better spirits and have more taste for writing. Adele always feels much better after her throwing up spell, and was her normal self again this morning. I half expected her to be cranky, but she was most congenial. Getting up was another ordeal for me. Adele was most impatient to get downstairs and kept urging me to take her downstairs. When she wakes up in the morning, I take her to the bathroom at her request, and when we return to the bedroom, she always insists upon getting in bed with me. Up to this time, I had not the strength for her fussing, getting up and down, etc., but here of late, she relaxes a bit with me and doesn't tire me as greatly, so I enjoy having her in bed with me. Sure do wish it was a threesome. She hugs me and kisses me and tells me stories and hides under the covers. When I become annoyed, she lays still for a few minutes to enable me to snatch a few more winks. I leave her in our bed while I wash and dress. I give her something to occupy her, such as a box, a toy, or her shoes and the laces. She likes to lace her shoes and usually makes me a tangled mess that takes 10 minutes to undo, and go downstairs to make her orange juice. She has never gotten off our bed when I go downstairs, just as though it were an unspoken law. In fact, she'll never get off unless I tell her to. It takes just a few minutes to make the juice, and I bring it up along with her oil. While she's drinking, I make up my face and straighten the room. Then I dress her, and she plays with her blocks until I make the beds, mop the floor, etc. When the room is finished and we are both dressed, we go down for breakfast. After breakfast, I clean up and make a sandwich for my lunch. At this point, I signal my mother and advise her that I am ready to leave or will be ready at such and such a time. I still do not permit Adele to go up and down the stairs alone. Most of the girls criticize me for it, although I do allow her to go on her own with me a few steps ahead, just in case. I suppose I'll get over this business soon and allow her the privilege, which I know she'd enjoy. Phil, I just wish you could see the look that comes into her eyes when she gazes at Betty Jane. She just loves Betty Jane, and I see that I filled this form much to my amazement. It's really difficult to write when there is no mail from you. I love you, Phil, and I hope you'll soon be with your Ev. Philip to Evelyn, 17 April 1945. Darling Chippy, we are enjoying unprecedentedly fine weather these days in rainy England. One could not wish for a more beautiful spring day than was today. The weather, coupled with the good news from the fighting fronts, and some very interesting developments which are taking on a very intriguing aspect. Wish I could tell you about them here. All serve to put me in very good spirits. However, I was much too busy to pay much attention to anything but my work. The need to get which done is getting increasingly pressing. You would be surprised, honey, at the terrific amount of paperwork involved in running an organization such as this one. Absolutely nothing is left to chance or taken for granted. Every phase of our work, activities, and our supplies and equipment are reported on regularly. Some of the records, such as the payroll, all personnel records, company history, etc., will wind up in the National Archives in Washington. I understand that the company histories will be open to examination to the public a few years after the war ends. Someday, baby, we'll have a look at the stuff I have written these past 13 months. There was no fresh mail from you, sweet, or anyone for that matter, but 2 big packages arrived from Gloria. They contain tuna, salmon, jam, 5 big Nestle's bars, crackers, a quiz book, kitty foil, I remember you read that, and possibly a few other things I'm forgetting at the moment. Gloria has been most considerate in the matter of packages and correspondence, and she is one of the people it hurts me to remember I haven't written to in too long a time. Whatever became of Betty Jane, honey? She was supposed to come and live with the pumpkin on 28 March, your birthday, lest you think I can mention that date without realizing its significance. And I've had letters from you up to 10 April, but still no word that she has put in an appearance. And I rather thought the bracelet would have arrived by then, too. Hope the pumpkin is well over the ill effects of her recent immunizations, darling. It warmed her daddy's heart to hear her mommy speak so proudly of her courage, both through and after the ordeal. I have to smile to myself sometimes, Chippy, at your very obvious efforts to impress me with your blasé attitude towards the attainments and charms of our daughter. You lean over backwards to give the idea that you are unprejudiced, and I can feel that you try very hard to look at her through a stranger's eyes when you describe what must be her very considerable charms. 18 April 1945. Was interrupted and couldn't continue this until tonight. We are in the throes of moving from one hut to another, so I'll just finish this email and fill out a change of address form. To continue with what I was saying above, the point I was trying to make was that your adoration of Adele will not be hidden by any words of yours, regardless of how nonchalant you mean them to sound. So you may as well break down and tell me how you really feel about her. You can tell me, sweet. I'm her dad, remember? Good night now, honey, and don't forget to kiss the pumpkin for me. Tell her she is to kiss Mommy for me. Your Phil.